Right now, as you're watching this video, there are 54 countries in the Commonwealth. But in another timeline, there wouldn't be 54 independent nations. There would be one massive empire controlling 3 billion people, and you'd be living under a crown whether you liked it or not. In 1947, Britain gave India its independence. That single decision started the collapse of the largest empire in human history. Within 30 years, the British Empire was gone. But what if that decision was never made? What if 1947 came and went, and India stayed British? Today, we're diving into the terrifying reality of an empire that never died. The year is 2025, but not your 2025. In this timeline, the Union Jack still flies over Mumbai, Nairobi, and Sydney, not as a symbol of the Commonwealth, but as the flag of an empire that controls half the world's population. And the scariest part? Most people living under it don't even realize they're not free. Let's go back to where it all changes. It's 1945. World War II just ended. Britain is exhausted, bankrupt, and watching its colonies demand independence. In our timeline, Britain couldn't hold on. The cost was too high, the public support was gone, and the age of empires was over. But in this timeline, Churchill makes a different calculation. Instead of accepting decline, he sees an opportunity. While America builds atomic bombs, Britain builds something more dangerous, a control system that makes colonies want to stay. By 1947, when India should be celebrating independence, British scientists have already deployed something called the Imperial Integration Network. It starts as a communication system, better telegraph lines, early computers, coordinated administration across the empire. The genius move? Britain offers Indian leaders a deal. Not independence, but partnership. Indians can hold positions in government, officers can lead military units, and businesses can access the entire empire's markets, as long as they stay loyal to the crown. Some resist. Gandhi still leads protests. But here's where it gets dark. In our timeline, British forces couldn't contain the independence movement. It was too big, too popular. But in this timeline, they don't need to contain it. They just need to redirect it. The British launch Project Commonwealth in 1948, a massive infrastructure program across India. New railways, hospitals, schools, all stamped with the Union Jack. The message is clear. Stay with us and prosper. Leave and lose everything. And it works. Not everywhere, not all at once, but enough. By 1950, India isn't independent, but it isn't a colony anymore either. It's something new, a dominion partner with limited self-governance but ultimate loyalty to London. This model spreads like wildfire. Africa, Southeast Asia, the Caribbean, everywhere Britain controls, they offer the same deal. And slowly, year by year, instead of fighting for independence, colonial leaders start negotiating for better terms within the empire. By 1960, the world map is unrecognizable. There's no wave of decolonization, no new African nations, no non-aligned movement. Instead, there's the Greater Commonwealth, a political and economic bloc that dwarfs anything else on Earth. Now here's where the technology becomes terrifying. In our 1960s, Britain is dealing with economic decline. In this timeline, Britain is rolling out something called the Citizen Integration Program. It starts innocuously, a new ID card system, better than passports. Then it's biometric tracking at borders. By 1970, it's neural implants offered as health monitoring devices. Britain sells it as progress, as medical advancement. And millions of people across the empire line up to get them voluntarily. These implants do monitor health. But they also monitor location, communications. Eventually, they can detect antisocial thought patterns and flag individuals for wellness interventions. When a protest organizer in Lagos starts planning a demonstration in 1975, the system flags them before they even tell anyone. When a writer in Hong Kong drafts an essay criticizing the empire, the implant detects the stress patterns in their brain and alerts authorities. There's no mass arrests. No public crackdowns, just quiet visits, voluntary therapy sessions, and adjustments to brain chemistry that leave people more compliant, more content with the system. By 1990, when the Soviet Union should be collapsing and the Cold War ending, there is no Cold War in this timeline because there's no competition. The Soviet Union collapsed earlier without colonial revolutions to support. China exists in isolation, too large to absorb but surrounded by British-controlled territory. America? It won World War II but never became the superpower we know. Without the Cold War to fuel its economy, without the space race, without the technological competition, America becomes a prosperous but secondary power, firmly in Britain's orbit. So what does 2025 look like in this timeline? On paper, it looks perfect. Crime is virtually zero, not because society is just, but because the surveillance system predicts and prevents it. Poverty is lower than in our world. Centralized resource distribution is brutally efficient. There are no wars, no terrorism, no political instability. The Imperial Parliament in London governs 3 billion people with machine-like precision. English is the only global language. Local cultures are preserved as tourist attractions, something to visit on weekends, not something to live. A child born in Mumbai today learns British history, celebrates the King's birthday, and dreams of moving to London. They've never known anything else. The neural implant they received at age 5 has been gently shaping their worldview for their entire life. When you ask them if they're free, they genuinely believe they are. But here's what that world has lost. There's no Bollywood film industry celebrating Indian identity because there's no Indian identity to celebrate, just regional British culture. There's no African literature renaissance because writers who think too differently about the empire find their creativity mysteriously fading after their wellness sessions. Nobel Prizes are still awarded, but they all go to researchers in London, Oxford, and Cambridge. Not because other regions lack talent, but because the system subtly discourages innovation anywhere that might challenge centralized control. The economy is stable but stagnant. Why innovate when the empire provides everything? Why take risks when the surveillance system flags unconventional thinking? The incredible technological leaps our world made, the internet revolution, the startup culture, the rapid innovation, none of it happens because those things require freedom to fail, to question, to break rules. The most disturbing part? The system is self-sustaining. Parents raise children to be loyal imperial citizens because that's what they believe is right. Teachers educate students in imperial values because that's what the curriculum demands. Doctors perform the neural integration procedures because they genuinely believe they're helping people. There's no conspiracy, no evil mastermind, just a system that perpetuates itself generation after generation, getting more sophisticated, more deeply embedded, more impossible to escape. But systems can break. In our timeline, empires fell because they couldn't adapt fast enough, couldn't control information, couldn't suppress the human desire for self-determination forever. In this timeline, those escape routes are closed. Information is controlled. Self-determination is something people don't even understand they're missing. The desire for freedom is chemically suppressed before it can even fully form. Could it ever end? Maybe. Maybe there's a glitch in the neural network. Maybe a solar flare knocks out the surveillance satellites. Maybe one programmer in London makes a decision to shut it all down. But without that external shock, without that moment of system failure, the empire just continues forever. That's the real horror of this scenario. Not that it would be violent or chaotic, but that it would be peaceful, prosperous, and permanent. A gilded cage so comfortable that the people inside forget that cages have doors. In our world, the British Empire fell. And that fall, as painful and complicated as it was, gave birth to dozens of nations, hundreds of cultures, and billions of people who got to decide their own destiny. India became the world's largest democracy. African nations forged their own paths. The post-colonial era, for all its challenges, was an era of self-determination. We owe that to everyone who fought for independence, to Gandhi and Nehru, to Mandela and Nkrumah, to millions of unnamed people who risked everything for a simple idea that they should govern themselves. An eternal British Empire means none of that happens. It means a world of perfect order and zero freedom. A world where everyone is provided for, but no one truly lives. Where progress stops not because we lack the ability, but because we lack the permission. Sometimes the fall of an empire isn't a tragedy. Sometimes it's the only way humanity moves forward.